my friend Brian, colleague Brian Montemuro from 2 West is here. Pretty much all of if I ever get somebody asking about wealth management, even though I can do it myself, I pass it on to Brian. Brian's a phenomenal financial planner and a really good speaker and a really good guy to come all the way up here and do this from Kansas City, so I'm excited about it. So here we go.
Now, I was told I have to stand in front of the microphone for the recording, but that's not really the way I work, so stick with me. I'm going to try to stand close. There we go. Good afternoon. My name's Brian Montemuro. I'm the lead financial planner for 2 West Advisors. I head up the advanced planning department. So if you're 55 and retirement is on the horizon, I'm probably the guy on the team you're talking to help land the airplane. You've been flying along your whole career, saving money, accumulating wealth, and I help folks transition into retirement to build an income plan. My presentation today that I want to spend some time on, and I'm only going to take the next 2 or 3 hours to go through this is the first time I've not got a chuckle at that. I got a small chuckle, but I make that joke every time. I've got about 18 to 22 minutes of talking to do, but my time today, I want to spend focused on income planning. We spend a lot of time on retirement planning, accumulating wealth, building assets, getting to the point in time in which we're going to retire, and then what? Well, it's about changing that retirement nest egg into income. So I'm going to spend ample time talking about the challenges that you face in creating income, talk about strategies. Today, I want to give you 3 different strategies to build retirement income. 3 different strategies, though there are tons of ways to do it. I'm just going to give you 3 ideas today. And then at the end of it, give you some next steps, where to go from here, and then I'll leave with Mike my contact information. If you want one-on-one guidance or help, we're here to provide that for you. So, how does retirement planning differ from income planning? Well, I mentioned it a moment ago. Retirement planning is about accumulating assets, accumulating wealth, building up a nest egg, so when the time comes and it's time to retire, you start to use that nest egg that you've accumulated to turn into income during retirement or paycheck money. Years ago, you may recall, Voya had a commercial of what's your number, or the orange squirrel that ran across the screen. And they had everybody walking around with these big numbers behind them. That's retirement planning. That's wealth accumulation. That's asset accumulation to have enough money to live. But as we move toward retirement and income, we're accustomed to having a paycheck every month, every 2 weeks, twice a month, what have you. In retirement, what's that look like? Most of us are going to have Social Security, if not all of us. And I say most of us, not because any thought of Social Security going away, but some of the folks that I work with work for pension systems that don't contribute to Social Security, so they therefore don't have Social Security. That's probably not anybody in this room. But when we transition into retirement, it's about building paychecks to continue to manage your standard of living. So, thinking about challenges. On the screen are several different ages and age milestones that you'll encounter through your life. Some of them, as you glance at it, you might be familiar with those milestones. Others may be a bit puzzling. So does anyone care to guess the significance of age 55? The significance of age 55. Venture a guess. I don't have any prizes other than cookies outside the door. 55 is a unique milestone for many folks in that is when you're first eligible to take distributions from your 401k and 403b as long as you've separated from service. So, let's pretend I turned 55, I've left my employer, I now have access to my 401k without any IRS penalty. All I have to do is pay the tax on the money. I have access to my 401k after 55, separation from service, penalty-free. Kind of significant. So that said, does anybody have any guess on what 59 and a half is, the relevance of 59 and a half? Yeah.
I thought it was what you described, 55, that's when you could take it without that.
So the caveat,
Still working.
exactly, that's what it is. 59 and a half is when you can start taking distributions from your 401k, 403b, IRAs, without any IRS penalty. The only caveat with the 55 is it's from the plan that you've separated from after 55. So the significance is these are times in which you have access to resources to live on during retirement. What's the significance of 62? There we go. That's right. Social Security is the first age in which you can draw Social Security benefits. First age in which you can draw Social Security benefits, though they may be reduced, that's when you can begin to draw them. 65. 65 is Medicare age, and that's why my friends are here to talk much more deeply about Medicare, so I'm not even going to touch it today. Just understand that that's Medicare age. Now, 72 for the young folks in this crowd may be a completely foreign concept, but for folks that maybe are a little more experienced, any idea what 72 is? And it's recently changed to 73 because of a tax law change. It is. All right, good, great work. So, required minimum distributions. The required minimum distribution is a tax law that says when I reach a certain age, I must begin taking a distribution from my retirement assets. I must take some of that money out and pay tax on it. It's just a little bit, but I have to take that money out. Otherwise, the penalty is significant. Now, for folks between 73 and age 80, it's typically less than 5% of the account balance. And whether you give that money away to church, charity, or children, reinvest it or spend it, you have to get it out of that account. And as you navigate those waters, it's important to work with somebody to help you navigate that. So we have some ages and some significant milestones that are just important to know as you traverse through your working life and in towards retirement. As we think about retirement as a whole, many times I have folks ask me, how much money am I going to need in retirement? How much money am I going to get from Social Security? Where's all this coming from? What does everyone else do? What are national averages? So I want to share with you a couple of national averages first. Thinking about wage replacement or income replacement. When you're retired, typically your expenses are less. You're no longer paying FICA. You're no longer contributing towards retirement. So by nature, your spending is less, your income's probably less as well. So you don't have to make up 100% of your pre-retirement earnings. Maybe it's 85%. So we look at the example of the $90,000 example. I'm making $90,000 a year. Social Security is projected to make up about 47% of that. As a retired person, make up 47% of that. That means the burden to make up that $90,000 pre-retirement income, the burden on me is I need to come up with 41% of that income. How do I do that? That's through savings, through pensions, 401ks, etc. But I think that the important point here is typically folks need less money when they're retired than they did while they were working. And the other piece of that is Social Security is an important factor in that percentage of income during retirement. However, the higher you are on the earnings scale, the smaller overall percentage Social Security is going to make up over that overall need. Now, I've had this discussion a lot with individuals and investors over the past several months, probably give me a year and a half at this point, I'm retired. Do I remain invested? Do I continue to stay in the market? How do I invest my money when it's all over the place? And for most of the time I talk with folks, my commentary hasn't changed in 18 years. It's the market goes up, the market comes down. Be sure to allocate your investments with your own individual risk tolerance and risk preference, understanding that in the long term, investing in the market is going to provide you real positive results. In the short term, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable, but you have to make sure that you make changes and adjust accordingly, but maintain a long-term perspective. If we just take a look at the S&P 500 from 1990 to 2021, so over a 30-year period, it's averaged 10.6%. And that's kind of where it's been historically over even a longer period of time. So just know that even when you go into retirement, most often folks do not put money under their mattress, put money in CDs. You'll remain an investor, or most folks will remain an investor throughout the course of their retirement. Oh, sure. So the blue bars are when the market peaked, I believe is what the chart says, is peak years. So who has a pension? Got one. Got two, three, four. Okay, so, well, I'm not going to ask anybody to identify what grouping you're in, but based on the raised hands, we may see how true this graph falls to life. I would say the younger the person is, the less likely they are to have a pension, because traditional pensions are going away. Typically, we see them in public service, and that's about the only place we see them today. Though my grandparents, they had a pension. That was how they funded their retirement. My parents and some of their friends had a pension, and the only friends of mine that I know that have a pension are in education. Pensions have been going away with respect to a source of retirement income for individuals for many years, putting the burden of saving on the individual themselves. Now, this is a chart that's special to me. So I look at that 100-year category. This chart tells me that if you're 65 today, these are the probabilities that you're going to live to a specific age, and if you're married, it takes that into consideration as well. The reason I say this chart's significant to me is I have a grandfather who February 6th next year, I'm going to go to his 99th birthday party, and I'm super excited about it. But when we look, he was a married person until my grandmother passed away. There was an 18% chance that one of them was going to get to that mark, and I believe he's the one. But the significance with respect to retirement income planning is we have to be prepared to live for a long time. Longevity risk is a risk multiplier and makes all the other risks of planning for retirement and investment planning that much more severe. So, as we transition into talking about strategies for creating retirement income, a couple of things I want you to think about. Take an assessment of your spending, your budget, your goals, how much money goes out on a normal basis, the length of time you need it to last. Do you come from a family of longevity where we need to plan to age 100, or is it reasonable to plan to 80s or less if necessary? The variability of your monthly income. How variable is your income need on a month-to-month basis? I tell you, for me, November and December are terrible. They're really hard. I pay property taxes, I pay insurance, I pay all these other things in these 2 months of the year where maybe the rest of the year is smooth sailing. As you plan for building income in retirement, understand that your needs fluctuate throughout the course of the year. How much access do you have to money? Have you purchased an annuity that you can't put your hands on? Or do you have pretty easy access to monthly income? And then lastly, legacy. Is it important for you to leave money behind to church, children's charity, or some other entity that's important to you? If it is, plan for it well in advance. So I want to talk about 3 different strategies today, understanding that there's many ways to build retirement income. The first strategy is the multi-asset reserve strategy. The second is the time-based bucket strategy. And the third is my favorite, the essential income strategy. So I'm kind of biased in my preference, though understand that income planning is designed to be tailored to what you want and what you need and your preferences. So we start in the multi-asset reserve plus strategy, and we start with our nest egg, a nest with some actual eggs in it. We break this nest egg up into 2 primary components. Primary component number 1, our investment portfolio comprised of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, structured notes, alternatives, all the stuff, our investments. These fluctuate, they go up, they go down with the market. Then we have our reserve bucket. Our reserve bucket is cash, savings, CDs, other boring stuff. Stuff that doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't grow much, but it doesn't fluctuate either. And we probably, in the reserve, we're going to have 2 to 3 years worth of our expenses that we need. So if we are to see a prolonged down market, we can live off of our reserves. So in times when the market's up and our investment portfolio grows, we take our paycheck, we take our monthly living, our paycheck from the investment account because it's growing. We're taking from that when it's growing, when it's going up. But when the market's down, our investment account has shrunk. We don't use it. We give it time to heal, to recover, to bounce back, and we pull from our reserves while our investment account is fluctuating and may be seeing some losses. Then we get to a point, 3 years later, it's bounced back, it's recouped, it's grown back. Then we start living off of our investments again. We live off our investment bucket once again, and we replenish our reserves. So in a nutshell, when the market's good, we live off of our investments. When the market's bad, we live off of our reserves. We pull from that bucket of reserve money and give this time to heal and to bounce back. Does that make sense conceptually? Yeah, all right. The time-based bucket strategy is similar with a couple of differences. So this time, rather than having 2 primary buckets of money or 2 primary components of the strategy, we have 3. We have a now bucket, money that we're going to use this year. We're using this money for the next 12 months. We have our soon money, that is what we'll use the 2 years to 10 years. And then we have our long-term or 10-year plus money. Now the significance here is in that long-term 10-year plus money, we can be really aggressive and take a lot of risk to try to grow that bucket because we're not going to use that money for many years from now. We're not going to touch it, think about it. We're probably in that particular bucket of money, we're probably invested in 100% stocks. We're looking for growth. We're looking for the next Amazon in that long-term bucket. But in the soon bucket, that 2 to 10 year, we have a really conservative portfolio of dividend-paying stocks, bonds, really conservative investments that don't take a lot of risk but don't fluctuate much either. They're predictable. They have a long positive track record. And then the money that we're using today, that's cash. We keep a year's worth of cash in our savings account, and then we move it to our checking account so we can pay our monthly bills. In times when the market's up, the soon money grows, the later money grows, the cash stays pretty flat because that's what we're using. That's what we're spending every month. And then we've used up all of our today money. We use our tomorrow money to fill the today bucket. And we use the long-term bucket, and it just kind of flows downhill to where we get that money transferring from one bucket to the next bucket to where we actually use it. This is kind of an involved strategy, understanding there's just multiple components in your spending here. Now, when the market's down, what do? Well, we still need to spend money today. So we're using that cash reserve, that today money. And our soon money is invested in such a fashion, it may have not taken such a big hit when the market's down. Once again, I said it's a conservative bucket of money. But that long term, that's taking some risks. It's probably seen some losses. We want to give that time to recover. Now, we assume the market recovers. Our funds bounce back. We fill each preceding bucket to where we go down. We fill each bucket up. And then we go back and kind of work through the market cycle there. Does that make sense? Do you see how that's just slightly different, but kind of in a similar vein, looking and categorizing into long-term, medium-term, and short-term buckets of money? Okay, here is my favorite strategy, but as I work with individuals, this may be the most difficult for them to do. Because what it requires is an individual to take a really hard look at your spending and expenses. So with your spending and expenses, when you look at the essential income strategy, what you have to do is take an honest assessment of your budget. When you look at your budget, what is must-have? What is minimum sustainable living for me? And sometimes Starbucks does fall into that category. Not for everybody, but sometimes it does. So you look at, okay, I've got to pay my property tax so they don't take away my house. I have to pay my insurance. I have to pay my utilities. I have to eat. These are my essentials. And this is a hard exercise for many of us to do, but it's an important exercise when we talk about why. Then we have our wants, our needs, our desires, our discretionary, travel, gifts, what have you. Those are the nice to haves in life. And then, then we talk about legacy. What does that look like? Whether that's passing money on to church, charity, children, etc. So why do we go through this exercise to differentiate our expenses and our spending? Well, we fund each of them differently. If it's a need that we must have, that's there, that has to be paid for, well, those are spending that we need to have guaranteed income to cover. We need to have guaranteed income to cover those absolute essential expenses. Well, what are examples of guaranteed income? Social Security, guaranteed income. Pensions, guaranteed income. Annuities are guaranteed income. So this is an investment strategy, an income strategy that factors in using annuities to make sure that you have the income that you need. Now, what the right amount of annuity to use in this situation is the smallest annuity possible in order to create the amount of income you need to create. So if you have essentials that you must cover that are $3,000 a month, Social Security covers $2,000, then you buy an annuity that will provide you $1,000 a month in income. So you have, no matter what, you have those essentials covered. You can sleep easy at night knowing that those are covered. You're not going to be evicted from your home. You'll have enough food to eat, etc. So the significance here is how we invest for the discretionaries, for the lifestyle expenses. You have your guaranteed bucket of money. Now we have the lifestyle bucket of money. That lifestyle bucket of money can be comprised of mutual funds, stocks, bonds, but an investment portfolio that is tailored to your own specific risk tolerance. For most folks, they develop a portfolio that is designed to create a monthly income or a quarterly income. But you get to invest in such a way that's important to you. And then we go up on the pyramid, and if it's important to leave a legacy, then we start talking about life insurance planning. So the essential income strategy is designed to provide you a floor or a safe amount of income that you cannot outlive no matter what. Even if the market crashes, that money's going to be there. That's going to be your safety net. That's you. For those of you that don't have a pension, you use an annuity to create a pension for you. Get your discretionary expenses. Those discretionary expenses, they come from variable income, i.e. investment income, taking into consideration Social Security pensions, etc. So I like the essential strategy because it makes sense and it provides a sense of comfort that no matter what, I have what I need to be comfortable. So I don't have to worry about what happened in the market today, what happened in the market tomorrow, where's it going. My needs are covered. Those are discretionary or nice to haves in my life. Does that make sense? You can see there's so many different nuanced ways to do this, and the good thing is there's no one right way to do it, and you don't have to do it all the same way. You could have some of your income in one strategy, some of your income in another strategy. It's funny, when we're working people, we typically have one paycheck. If you have rental income, you may have two. But think about it, if you're in retirement, you're using the essential income planning strategy, you may have at least three, maybe four. Social Security, pension, annuity, distribution from investment account. It's really common for a retired person to have 3 to 5 different incomes coming in every month. Pretty normal. Just don't understand you don't have to rely on one way to do it. These are designed to manage market volatility and align your investment allocations and risk with the appropriate time horizon of what you want to accomplish. Kind of as I wrap up here, I was presenting at a travel agent client of ours last week, and I made the joke, and it went really well with that group, is we spend more time planning our vacations than we do our retirement. And facts prove that correct. 8 out of 10 pre-retirees don't have a plan that they follow. You have resources to help you put a plan in place. Our team is here for that. Why is it important? I think I've belabored that a bit, but it's just understanding how you're going to accomplish retirement as you move toward it. Now, before you get much closer to retirement, take that hard look at your budget. Understand what spending is essential and what's discretionary. What could you live without, what could you not? Whether you use the essential strategy or not, it's just a good exercise. What do I need? What do I want? Add up your essentials, build an income plan that changes it. For the last 18 years, I've been talking to individuals about planning for retirement, creating income in retirement. And sometimes I skim over, I'm just talking about the money, but retirement's not about the money. It's about living your life the way you want to. So as you're going through this exercise, have a good understanding of what do I want my life to look like as I move there. How can I use money as a tool to help me accomplish those things that are important to me? And then consider reaching out for help. The team at 2 West is here to help you. Mike, myself, the rest of our team, our resources made available to you, help you navigate this. And I did this presentation in a different format the first time. I didn't take that slide out. So I know I'm at time. I don't want to impinge on my guest time. I'll take a question or two, but Mike will make my information known. You can send me an email after the fact. But I'll take a question if there's any real quick ones. Great, gang. I appreciate your time. I'll turn it over to the Georges, and we'll talk some Medicare. All right, thanks, gang. Appreciate it.